the previous video, we looked at how to navigate to the business process flow section in Dynamics 365. In this video, we'll look at how to create a business process flow. So we have a business process flow for the leads entity. Okay. So if a new user, in our case Ram, if he wants to create a new lead record, he would have a business process flow which will help him. However, if he wanted to create a new contact record, he wouldn't know what to do because there is no business process flow for the contact entity. Okay, so he'll have to do it on his own. So let's go ahead and help him out by creating a business process flow. Okay, so I'm going back to the default solution. Then I'm clicking on new. I'm going to give a name for the business process flow. I'm going to call it business process flow of contact. Okay, and then in the category I'm going to choose business process flow, and then the entity is going to be contact. Okay, once I've chosen the entity, which is contact, next I need to choose between run process as a business flow, that is classic, or unified interface. The unified interface is for mobile clients. Okay, so if you want to design a business process flow for the mobile clients, then choose this one, run process as a task flow. Okay, so I'm just going to run it for the web client, which is run process as a business flow classic. And then you can choose to edit the schema name of the business process flow if you want to. I'm just going to leave it as it is, and then I'm going to click on OK. Okay, so this is how the interface looks like to design a business process flow. Let's start taking a look at each one of them. The first thing which you need to do is, if you want to edit the name, just click on this small arrow next to the name which you've already given for the business process flow, and you would be able to edit the process name from here if you want to. Okay. Alright. Next, we need to start designing our stages. Now, as I mentioned in the first video, the business process flow is divided into many stages. Okay. So we can start adding our first stage. Okay, so to edit this stage, which is already here, just click on it once. The first thing which you need to do is you need to give a name for it and then the category. So I'm going to call it develop. Okay, then the category, choose the one which is best appropriate for this stage. So choose the one which you think is being done on this stage. So what this stage is going to be doing is it's going to develop that contact. Okay, it's going to gather information about that contact. So I'm going to choose the category as develop. Just going to click on apply. Okay, so now you've entered the stage name. Now what you need to do is you need to start entering the fields for which the user needs to enter data. Okay. What I mean by that is, if I go back to my lead entity now, if I open any one of those records, in this qualify stage in the lead business process flow, these are all called data steps. This is called a data step, this is a data step, etc. Okay, so each field for which the user needs to enter data, that is called a data step. So we need to start entering the data steps for this particular stage. To do that, just click on details and then click on this data step number 1, new step. Now what you need to do is you need to give a name for that step. That is what appears over here. Existing contact, existing account, etc. Okay. Then so I'm going to give the name as enter first name, and then choose the field for which you want to enter the data. That is the field to which the data will be mapped. So in my case, it is first name. Okay, so once you've chosen the field, what you need to do is you need to choose whether this field needs to be required or not. That is, if the user needs to compulsorily enter data for this field. Okay, so since it's the first name, I'm going to make it mandatory. Then click on apply. And then if you want to add more data steps, that is, if you want to make the user enter data for more fields, then go to components and just click on data step and then drag and drop it like this. So you see that plus sign right below the data step number 1, just add it there. So what will happen is, if you add it right there, then the user will first ask to enter the first name and then whatever you enter over here. Okay, that is basically the sequence. Okay, so what is the order in which the user is asked to enter the data. So this one I'm going to just call it last name. Then I'm going to choose the field as last name. Sorry, last name. I'm going to make this as required as well. I'm going to click on apply. I'm going to add more components. That is, I'm going to add more data steps. This time it's the email. I'm going to make this one as required as well. Click on apply. Go to components, add one more. Basically that plus sign should be highlighted. Okay, then only you'll be able to add it. Once you see that highlighted box, that is the highlighted plus box, then you can release that box. So this one I'm going to enter the phone number. So I'm going to call it the phone number. And then choose the field, which is main mobile phone. I'm going to make this as required as well. Okay. I'm going to click on apply. Alright, so now I'm done with all my data steps. That is, I have added all the fields for which the user needs to enter the data. Now, after adding all the data steps, you can either move on to adding the next stage, or you can add some process to this stage. Okay, that is, you can trigger some workflows in this particular stage. To do that, go to components and then drag and drop workflow and drop it right below triggered processes. So you see that plus highlighted box. So once you see that, release the mouse. Okay, now what you need to do is you need to add the trigger to your workflow. That is, whether you want to trigger this workflow on entry of this stage, that is before all the data steps are, before the user enters data for all the data steps, or after he is entered all the data steps and clicking on next stage. Okay, so I want to trigger this workflow after all the data steps has been entered and when he is clicking on next stage. So I'm going to choose stage exit and then choose the workflow. You can create a new workflow from here if you want to, or you can choose the existing workflows. I've already created a workflow called send email to contact owner. So I'm just going to trigger that workflow. Basically, as the name indicates, it's just going to send an email to the contact owner. Okay, so I'm just going to click on apply. Alright, so now this stage is completed. That is, I've completed configuring this particular stage. Okay, now I'm going to components and I'm going to add my next stage. Now, similar to workflows, you can also add an action step or a flow step if you want to. Okay, so yeah. Now let me go ahead and add my next stage. So to add a stage, just click on it and drop it right in that plus box when it's highlighted. Okay, So give a name for this stage. I'm going to give the display name as qualify, and then I'm going to choose the category as qualified. Okay, then just click on apply, and then start entering the data steps for this stage. So let me go ahead and add my first data step. So I'm going to be checking the contact preference. I'm going to be entering the contact preferences of the contact. Okay, that is if he wants to be contacted through phone only or email only, etc. Okay, so first I'm going to choose the data field, which is do not allow phone calls. I'm going to give it as do not allow phone calls. Since this is not that important of a field, I'm not going to make it mandatory. Okay, so I'm going to leave that unchecked. Click on apply. Similarly, I'm going to add one more by just clicking on data step and dropping it here. This time I'm going to choose do not allow emails. So if you do not enter a step name, then automatically it will automatically add the field name as the step name. Okay, so if you want to change it, you can. I'm just going to click on apply. Okay, so this stage is completed. Okay, so I've added the two data steps which I want to add for this particular stage. Now let me go ahead and add my next stage. So I'm dropping it there. This one, I'm going to call it research, because this is going to be doing research about that particular contact. So the category is going to be research. Click on apply. Go to components. Then start adding your data steps. Okay. So the first one which I'm going to be adding is my annual income. Choose the field which is actually annual income. This one is going to be a mandatory field, so I'm going to be adding it as a required field. Click on apply. I'm going to add one more, which is my credit limit. Okay, so that is a field which I want to add the data for. I'm going to make this as mandatory as well. Click apply. Okay, so now I've added the credit limit. Now let me go ahead and add my third and final component, third and final data step, that is, it is the marital status. Okay, so the step name is also going to be the same. Just going to click on apply. Okay, so I've added the third and final data step for this particular stage. Now I can move on to the next stage. Before I do that, I'm just going to click on the stage information. Now automatically a business rule will be applied to this stage. The reason is, if I click on business rules for the stage entity, I'm adding the information for the marital status. That is, I'm asking the user to enter the marital status of the contact. Automatically, this rule will be invoked, this business rule. This business rule checks if the marital status equals single. If it is, then it will lock the spouse/partner name, and it will clear whatever data is already entered. If it's not equal to single, then it will unlock the spouse or partner name. So this business rule will automatically be applied to this stage of the business process flow. Okay. Alright, so I'm going to add my next stage. Before I add the next stage, I want to add a condition. Okay, I'm going to be checking the value of the annual income and the credit limit. Based out of the values, I'm going to be adding different stages. Let me show what I mean. First, let me add my condition. So I'm dragging and dropping it here in the plus sign. And then I'm going to start entering my condition. So I'm going to give a name, check the values of credit limit and annual revenue. Okay, so I'm going to check the credit limit first. I'm going to check if the credit limit is greater than or equal to 10,000. Okay, and then I'm going to click on apply. Similarly, I want to add one more rule, that is, I want to check the annual income. So to do that, just click on new. Scroll down, and then choose the field. In this case, it is annual income. Okay. I want to check if the annual income is less than or equal to 5,000. So yeah, according to the field which you choose, the operators will change. Since it's a money field, it is having all the mathematical operators. If it's like a string field, then it will have like, string operators, etc. Okay. So yeah, these are the two conditions which I want to check. And since there are two rules, you can choose whether it's an AND or an OR. Okay, that is, if you want to make sure that both conditions are satisfied or any one of them. So just click on apply. Alright, so your rules is going to be checked now. That is, it's going to check if credit limit is greater than or equal to 10,000 and annual income is less than or equal to 5,000. Okay, so now you can add a new stage. That is, you can add a stage if it satisfies the condition or if it does not satisfy the condition. You can add stages accordingly. So first, I'm going to add a stage when it does not satisfy the condition. Okay, so to do that, just click on stage and drop it right at the plus sign below that cross mark. Okay, cross sign. So give a name for it. I'm going to call it close because it's going to close the record now. Okay, so I'm going to click on close. Then the entity is contact. Click on apply. And then enter the data steps for this particular stage. So I'm going to choose data step. I'm going to choose the field which is department. This is not going to be a mandatory field. Just click on apply. So basically, if it does not satisfy the condition, I'm going to close the contact and ask the user to enter the department information before closing. It's not a mandatory field. If he wants to leave it blank, he can. Okay, so I'm going to add a stage if it satisfies the condition. So I'm just dropping it right next to the check mark. I'm going to call this approval. Okay, click on apply. Then in this one as well, there's only going to be one data step, which is manager. That is, if it satisfies the condition, we need to enter the manager information. Just click on apply. So yeah, your data steps is like added. Now what you need to do is you just need to save and activate it. Okay, so you need to activate the business process flow so that it will work. So first save it. Once it's saved, what you can do is you can validate the business process flow. So what the validate will do is the business process flow will be validated for its logic. If there's any issues with the business logic, then the system will throw an error. Okay, so I'm just going to click on validate. So you should get the message saying validation successful. If its validation is successful, then only you would be able to activate it. Okay, so now I can go ahead and activate it. Okay, so the business process flow is activated. Now I can minimize this. And publishing the customizations. Okay. In the next video, we'll look at this business process flow in action.